You're standing on a chair with a rope in your hands when the pamphlet slides under your door. It is November. The canal outside your window on the Kiesersgracht has begun to freeze at its edges. You have not eaten since yesterday. The rope is rough hemp, purchased this morning from a ship chandler near the dam rack who did not ask questions. You're 29 years old. You have failed at everything. Your father's money is gone. Your position as tutor to the Van den Berg children ended 3 weeks ago when you told the eldest boy that his catechism was built on sand. The boy's mother dismissed you before supper. You have been living on credit at this boarding house, and the landlady has stopped bringing bread. The pamphlet scrapes across the floorboards with a dry whisper. You look down. It is small, cheaply printed. The title page reads, Meditation de Prima Philosophia. You know this text. Everyone who reads Latin in the Dutch Republic knows this text. Descartes has been dead for 10 years now, frozen to death in Sweden, but his ghost walks these canals. You step off the chair. You pick up the pamphlet. Someone has written in the margin of the first page in a cramped hand, begin here one day at a time. Do not skip ahead. This is how your second life starts. Not with revelation, with a used book on a dirty floor. You sit on the edge of your bed and read the first meditation. It takes 40 minutes. Descartes asks you to doubt everything, everything you have been taught, everything you think you see. He asks you to imagine that an evil demon has constructed the entire world as an elaborate deception. You find this strangely comforting. You have been living inside a deception for years. The difference is that Descartes promises a way through. The method is simple. You will doubt everything until you find something you cannot doubt. You will rebuild the world from that foundation. Descartes found his foundation in the act of thinking itself. Cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore I am. You whisper it in Latin. It sounds like a prayer. It functions like a prayer. Pierre Hadot, the French philosopher who would not be born for centuries, would later argue that ancient philosophy was never merely theoretical. It was a daily practice of self-transformation. Descartes knew this. His meditations were structured as spiritual exercises, each one designed for a single day of sustained contemplation. The Jesuit school at La Flèche, where he studied as a boy, had trained him in the exercises of Ignatius of Loyola. Those exercises demanded that you visualize hell, taste ash, feel the heat. Descartes took the same structure and aimed it at epistemology instead of salvation. You do not know any of this yet. You only know the text. But you begin. The next morning you do not get out of bed until 11. This is not laziness, this is discipline. Descartes himself, according to his biographer Griet, spent every morning in bed thinking the bed was his cell. The blankets were his cloister walls. You lie on your back in the gray light, filtering through the frost on the window, and you think. You try to doubt the ceiling above you. You try to doubt the sounds of carts on the cobblestones outside. You try to doubt your own hands. The exercise is harder than it sounds. Your body keeps interrupting. Your stomach growls, your bladder aches. Your mind drifts to the rope, which you have shoved beneath the mattress. This is the central problem of your new life. You're trying to be pure mind, but you're trapped in meat and bone. Weeks pass, you develop a routine, you wake at dawn but stay in bed, thinking until the bells of the Westerkerk ring 11. Then you rise, you dress in your only clean shirt, you walk to a bookshop on the Calverstraat where the owner allows you to read without purchasing, you study Descartes' discourse on method, you copy passages into a notebook, you eat one meal per day at a cookshop near the Newmarkt, where a bowl of hutspot costs 2 stuvers. You pay with coins you earn copying legal documents for a notary 3 afternoons per week. The notary is a fat Mennonite named Clays who thinks you're strange but tolerates your silence. You're constructing what Descartes called a provisional morality, a morale par provision, a set of rules to live by while the doubt does its work. Descartes had 3 rules. Obey the laws and customs of your country. Be resolute in action once you have decided master your desires rather than fortune. You adopt these. You attend the Reformed Church on Sundays because the law expects it. You sit in the back. You move your lips during the Psalms. You do not believe a word, but Descartes said to comply the provisional morality is not hypocrisy. It is engineering. You're building a scaffold around a building you intend to demolish and rebuild. The Calvinist city around you does not understand what you're doing. Amsterdam in the 1660s is the richest city on earth. The Dutch East India Company ships bring pepper and cloves and silk from the other side of the world. The canal houses grow taller every year. The merchants who live in them are, as Descartes once wrote, so absorbed in their own profit that you could live your entire life among them without being noticed. He chose the Dutch Republic for exactly this reason. Its commercial bustle provided anonymity, its tolerance provided safety. The Republic was a rationalist monastery disguised as a marketplace. But tolerance has limits. You learn this in March. A woman named Griet moves into the room across the hall. She is perhaps 35, broad-faced, with paint under her fingernails. She works as a colorist for a printmaker near the Jordan, grinding pigments and mixing oils. She drinks Genever in the evenings and laughs at things you cannot see. One night she knocks on your door and asks to borrow a candle. She sees your notebook open on the table, covered in Latin. You're one of those Descartes men, she says. You nod. My cousin in Utrecht was one. She says they threw him out of the university. She means the Voetian controversy. In the 1640s, the Calvinist theologian Gisbertus Voetius waged open war against Cartesian philosophy at Utrecht. Voetius understood something that most people missed. Cartesianism was not just a philosophy, it was a competing devotion, a rival liturgy. The daily practice of radical doubt threatened the daily practice of reformed catechesis. Voetius called it atheism. It was not atheism, it was a different path to the same God, but that distinction was too fine for the consistory. Griet sits on your floor and drinks. She tells you about pigments, how lead white slowly poisons the women who grind it, how ultramarine comes from lapis, lazuli shipped from Afghan mines, how every color in every painting in every canal house was pulled from the earth by human hands. You listen. You have not had a conversation in weeks. She says, "You think too much. That is your whole problem." You say, "Thinking is the only thing I am certain I do." She laughs and says, "You sound like a priest who has forgotten which God he serves." Griet becomes your ally without your permission. She drags you to a tavern on the Zeedijk where a man plays the viola da gamba. His name is Hendrik. He is old, missing teeth, and he plays with his eyes closed. The music fills the low-ceilinged room like smoke. You sit and listen and feel something you cannot name. Your provisional morality has no rule for this. Descartes wrote about the passions of the soul. He catalogued them. Wonder, love, hatred, desire, joy, sadness. 6 primary passions like 6 primary colors. He believed the pineal gland, that tiny organ at the center of the brain, was where the soul touched the body. The passions flowed through it like water through a valve. You could learn to regulate them? This was the Cartesian promise. Mastery of the inner life through understanding of its mechanics. But Hendrik's music does not feel mechanical. It feels like drowning. You're crying, Griet says. I am not. You say she hands you a cloth. You're crying. This is your midpoint. The moment when the architecture you have built inside yourself begins to crack. You have divided the world in two. Mind and body, thought and sensation. The certain and the doubtable, Descartes himself made this division. It was his great achievement and his great error. Princess Elizabeth of Bohemia saw the error before anyone. She wrote to Descartes, asking the simplest and most devastating question. If mind and body are truly separate substances, how do they interact? How does grief make your chest hurt? How does a thought move your hand? Descartes never answered her adequately. He wrote The Passions of the Soul instead, which was really a long confession of the same confusion, dressed in systematic language. You sit in the tavern and you feel your two natures at war. The mind that doubts, the body that weeps at music, and then something shifts, the music changes key. Hendrik opens his eyes and looks directly at you and plays a passage so strange and dissonant that the room goes quiet. And in that silence, you feel something dissolve, not the division between mind and body. The idea that there are only 2 things to divide. You're not mind and body, you're 1,000 things. You're hunger and Latin and the memory of your father's voice and the smell of canal water and the color of Griet's paint-stained hands and the sound of this viola and the fear of the rope under your mattress. You're not 2, you're a legion. This is terrifying and freeing and you do not know what to do with it. The years that follow are quieter. You continue your morning meditations, but they change. You no longer try to strip away the body to reach pure thought. You sit with the whole mess. Griet teaches you to mix pigments. You learn that vermilion is made from mercury and sulfur heated together, that the reddest color in the world is born from poison. You find this appropriate. Hendrik dies in the winter of 1668. You attend his burial in the Karthuizerkerhof. You try to accept his absence the way he accepted his music, with closed eyes and open hands. You fail. You grieve badly. You drink too much Genever. Griet finds you on the floor of your room and says, "You're still trying to think your way through feeling. Stop it." You say, "I do not know how to stop." She says, "That is progress." You never become famous, you never publish a word. You correspond with a few other readers of Descartes in Leiden and The Hague. Your letters are careful, technical, full of Latin abbreviations. In one letter from 1671, you write something that surprises you as you write it. The method of doubt has led me not to certainty, but to a different kind of uncertainty. One that I can inhabit. Michel de Montaigne, a century before you, had settled into doubt as a permanent home. Descartes had tried to push through doubt into certainty. You have ended up somewhere between them. A provisional person living by a provisional morality in a provisional room above a canal that freezes every winter and thaws every spring. You die in 1679 of a fever. You are 48. Griet is at your bedside. The rope is long gone. She threw it into the Kaisersgracht years ago without telling you. Your notebook is on the table, still open, still full of Latin. The last entry reads, "I think, therefore I am, but what I am, I have not yet determined." The candle goes out, the canal keeps moving beneath the ice.